All right, we're on. We're back today. Third episode of the Under the Number podcast. This time with Ian Book, former Notre Dame starting quarterback. I think the winningest quarterback in Notre Dame history. Currently a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're catching him right before he heads into OTAs prior to going back to California where we've got him today. So, Ian, thanks for hopping on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk.
Yeah, no problem. I spoke to KJ Costello from our first episode to see about some guys who he would refer, who he thought might be interesting to talk to. Your name was one of the first ones that came up. Your recruiting path was not the most direct, if I remember properly. You were a 3-star, right? Played at Oak Ridge, which is Oak Ridge a powerhouse? Is it considered a top-tier program?
It was good. I mean, it still is good. I would say, I think it's the Trinity League is the one in SoCal that's considered the best high school football in California. But when we were growing up, I mean, at least from what I remember, I think we were second, our league or whatever, second or third. So good California football. So I would say, I wouldn't say powerhouse, but we're pretty good, man. It's a good group of guys. You know, we play, you guys have probably heard of Folsom High School. Like, that's our big rival. So,
Yep.
You know, NorCal's got good sports too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And did you always know, was it Oak Ridge? Was that like a feeder path all the way since you were a kid?
I grew up in El Dorado Hills my whole life. That's the district, you know, that works with Oak Ridge. So I knew I was going to be going there. Went through the junior Trojan junior program, Pop Warner stuff. Once I started playing football in third grade, eight years old. So been in that junior program the whole time. So it was pretty clear I was going to go there.
Okay, got it. And I can tell, I mean, anyone who's watched your game, it's funny that you're listed, particularly if you watch your high school highlight tape. It's honestly kind of funny that you were listed as a pro style.
I know.
Because you can definitely move and you're definitely agile. Did you grow up playing multiple sports?
Yeah, grew up playing. I mean, I'd say my first love was probably basketball. Grew up, thought basketball would be the sport I try to go for. And then did baseball a little bit, stopped playing baseball and started playing lacrosse. And same thing with football. My brother went out, and I always had a good arm. I feel like I always was, you know, I guess born to be a thrower at some sort because I was a pitcher in baseball, and then in football I liked throwing. And I went to my brother's practice, and I was just throwing on the sideline. Like we went with my dad to pick him up. Didn't really ever. I was doing flag football at the time, and was kind of cool with that. Yeah. And the coach came over, and I remember he told my dad, he's like, "This guy's got a good arm. Does he want to come out next year?" And to make a long story short, I went out that following year and wasn't a huge fan. It was cool, but I wouldn't say I loved it. And then just kind of kept doing it with my brother, kept trying it. And I just took like one season where I was like, this is pretty sweet. Met all my friends and never stopped playing since then.
Did it take one dominant season for you to fall in love with it once you were kind of putting up some numbers?
We were really good my first year junior program. I want to say we went undefeated. So maybe that was it, which is kind of cool. But I just remember like my first time playing, we had like a scrimmage against this team called Oakmont. I've talked about this a ton in podcasts and stuff, but I got nailed in the back, had no back plate, and was just like, what am I doing out here? This doesn't seem sweet. And then just kept going, kept playing with my football with my brother in the backyard, and then something changed. I don't know, man. I met my buddies and just like really loved, you know, the goal of trying to put 11 guys out there and everyone's got to do their job just to make something work right. So I thought that was pretty cool at a young age and played ever since.
That's awesome. Did you lock in high school? Were you a single sport athlete once you got to Oak Ridge?
Once I got to high school, I remember having a talk with my dad as a freshman. He was like, I was doing lacrosse, basketball, and football. And we just kind of had a talk like, hey, is football the sport you want to take seriously and go to the next level? And I was a freshman, and I was like, yeah, I think it's definitely the sport. So I stopped playing basketball, and then my off-season sport was lacrosse. So I still did lacrosse all the way up until my senior year, just to stay active. You know, I was playing attack, working on agility and staying in conditioning and all that stuff. So it was a great off-season sport.
Yeah, I bet. So you won a lot of games in high school. When did you first start garnering attention from coaches? Were you getting like, I'm sure like everyone else who could make a little bit of noise. Everyone gets the like stock mail starting like freshman, sophomore year.
Yeah,
That's so exciting. You think
it
you're
is.
like
It's the
gonna end up
best.
with all these offers because you've got
It's
like,
true.
I mean, I had like USC envelopes showing up. I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
But when did that turn into legitimate personalized attention and like outreach from some of these guys?
So I'd say my freshman year, I played on the freshman team. We went undefeated, and then there was talks of, I remember my dad saying sophomore year I probably won't play JV, probably go up to varsity. Just the coaches will pull me up, whatever. So that's
Yeah.
when stuff started to get serious. My sophomore year, so I got pulled up to varsity, and I ended up going down to camp, as a sophomore with the varsity guys to University of San Diego. There was a 7-on-7 challenge. There's all these team drills, whatever, all these scrimmages, and was able to get my first offer was the University of Idaho, which just came kind of out of nowhere, which was awesome. And then I went down to University of San Diego for that high school camp and was able to get another offer. And then that's when I feel like things started to get rolling a little bit. And then obviously played varsity for the next 3 years. And like you said, got those letters and thought they meant something. I think
Yeah.
it was just the recruiting game is different. Like, it's crazy. I feel like you get one offer and then other teams are like, oh, you have an offer, we'll give you an offer too. But getting that first one's a big deal. So getting that first one my sophomore year was awesome. Was very excited. I actually ended up taking a visit to the University of Idaho because I was like, you guys were the first guys here. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
So sophomore year, yeah.
Got it. I think so. Was that USD tournament? We went down for a big 7-on-7 tournament there. My high school did.
Did you
Wouldn't be
really?
shocked if it was the
What
same
high
one. It's a
school?
big tournament, Santa Barbara High. I remember we played.
Yeah.
The memorable thing I have from that is that we're very, run of the mill program, but we did exceptionally well in that tournament, and we ended up losing in like the semis to this kid who was so unbelievably good, flew in from Arizona on this team.
Brian
This guy
Lewerke?
looks like a child. And I'm
Uh,
like, and we then hear, yeah, he just finished 8th grade. He's not even in high school yet. Won the whole
uh,
tournament, and it was Spencer Rattler.
Really? So I must have been there at
Yeah.
a different time because it's
Maybe it
funny you
was a
say
different
that.
year.
I was down at the university. We stayed there in the dorms, University of San Diego,
Okay.
and then we were winning in 7-on, and so was this other team. And then our championship 7-on-7 game was against a team from Arizona. So I thought it was the same, but it was. I don't know if you remember Brian Lewerke. He went to
Michigan
Michigan
State.
State. It was
Yeah.
him. So kind of funny. He was older at that time, but I think we were probably there at different times.
He was an Elite 11 guy. Did you go to that Elite 11?
I
I'm
did
sure
the
you were
first
invited to a
one.
regional.
Yeah, I did the regional, and then I didn't end up going any farther than that. So I loved it. I grew up watching it. I
Yeah.
kind of wish I did do it, but I actually ended up doing, this like charity dance event that I went to. It was called Evening of Dreams. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it, but it was like
I haven't.
it was pretty cool. It's this dance, put on in Sacramento where you go to it. So I ended up doing that the day of the Elite 11. So I didn't end up going, but I did grow up watching Elite 11. Definitely wanted to be one of those guys. It was a pretty cool show.
They did a great job with that.
Yeah.
So you get that first offer from Idaho, and how were in terms of personal performance? I know the team was pretty consistent, but personal performance sophomore year to junior year,
Yeah.
was there a big jump for you?
Well, I had a great sophomore year. We went to, I feel like that was kind of my coming out party. First time playing varsity. I want to say maybe lost one game. I think we lost to Folsom. And then we ended up going to the section championship game against Folsom. We lost to them again. But it was a great year. My junior year was tough. We didn't even make playoffs my junior year. And then we had a really good senior year. So I kind of went up and down a little bit, but
Yeah.
was able to have some steady performances throughout those 3 years and just keep the ball rolling on recruiting. Like I said, kind of get one offer and let the other ones kind of just come on in as they do. But I always tell kids when they ask me, or younger guys in high school, like, if you just focus on football and hanging out with your guys and being a good player and teammate, the offers will come as they should. There's not amazing players that are like hidden and they never get an offer. Like, stuff gets noticed, the word gets spread, it works itself out essentially. So able to have a good sophomore year, build it junior year, senior year, 3-star. I was happy with it. I was cool with it. Like I said,
Who were
I
some of
kind
the
of
other
wish
offers in there?
I was a big, I had a lot of Pac-12 offers, Mountain West. That was kind of where I was focused on. I wanted to play in the Pac-12 my whole entire life. That was kind of my goal. I grew up being a huge UCLA fan. That was kind of my dream school. Was in talks with them, which felt like for years. I thought I would get that offer eventually. Ended up going down for a visit. Never did. It was weird, and as you might know, I kind of got the offers that like I wanted so badly after I committed. Funny how that works. It's like teams
Did
are
you?
scared. They're scared to offer you, and then you commit somewhere, and they're like, "Man, we had one for you." And it's like this game,
Sure.
as you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I ended up getting Cal really late. Went to all the Arizona schools, did those visits. Had Boise State, Washington State. Nothing crazy, but was very happy with what I had. I committed to Washington State. Was committed there for 3 months. And then ended up getting a Notre Dame offer, like I said, late, and then felt like I kind of owed it to myself to go out to Notre Dame and just check that place out. It speaks for itself, and I never want to be the guy to commit, but took a visit out there and was like, man, this is the golden standard here. So I ended up making the switch.
Were you sold as soon as you stepped foot on campus?
Yeah, so I mean, this story's out there as well, but like I put the tweet out that I'm 110% committed to Washington State, and if you would have asked me back then, I would have told you it didn't matter who offered me. Like I hated that kids do that back then, and
Yeah.
now it's like people do it all the time.
So common. Oh my God. Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm going to Washington State. I'm gonna join the air raid. I'm pumped. Can't wait. But there was a coach named Mike Sanford, and he was at Boise State. I was gonna commit to Boise State, and he left, and I was like, damn, that's kind of my end there. So he left. He went to Notre Dame. So when he left, I went to Washington State and committed there. So for 3 months, I'm committed, don't hear anything. And then he calls me. He's like, hey, remember me? I was like, of course. He was like, I'm at Notre Dame, all settled now. I've been talking with Coach Kelly. And you're still at the top of our board for the 16 class, whatever. And I was just like, all right, cool, man. I'm committed, like whatever. So I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I told my parents, yeah, Notre Dame called today. They're like, what'd you say? I was like, I told them I was committed. And then they were like, Notre Dame? I was like, yeah. They're like, call them back right now.
Yeah.
So just got back on the phone and was like, hey, basically said like, I kind of wanted to go out there like under the radar and just like check it out on my own. I don't want the reporter. I didn't want any of that news out there.
Yeah.
So,
End up on the forums for Washington State.
Exactly. So I just went out there after vacation in the summer with my family. We stopped in South Bend and walked around, met with Coach Kelly, and did it secretly, I guess, and got an offer in his office. And I knew then, I was like, shoot, this is going to be a tough phone call for Washington State. But it took me 3 days to just get the courage to call Coach Leach, and I ended up doing it. That's a tough phone call when you're a young kid, man. So I ended up calling him, was like, hey, I got a Notre Dame offer, and I'm going to actually end up going there. And once I said that, they were pretty cool about it. I was shocked. He was like, I think once I said Notre Dame, he was like, wow, Notre Dame. He's like, almost in his head, like, well, I can't really argue with you there.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. I think he would have been pissed if I would have said a different school. But once that phone call was over, big weight lifted off my shoulders. And then it was kind of like, well, now I'm committed to Notre Dame, but I'm like the 3-star commit to Notre Dame that they don't ever get. They get a 5-star every year. So
Right.
definitely felt the hate from the jump, but still didn't really care. Like, I don't remember being in high school like, damn, all these people are hating on me. But I think once I got there, it was like, it's a gap year for Notre Dame. They just took this kid as a 3-star, and the 5-star
Right.
in front of him will start forever, and then same with
Right.
the 5-star behind him, and
Yeah.
whatever, man. I was pumped to be there. I wanted to get the degree. I wanted to be a part of the team. Wanted to work my hardest and let it all play out, and it was the best decision of my life. It worked out. So
Yeah, no kidding. So once and I don't want to skip forward because high school, I mean, that senior year, so you committed prior to senior year beginning, right?
yeah, so I guess it's a good question. I have to go back, but definitely in my junior year. I think it was either right before my junior season or after my junior season. I think it's probably after.
Okay.
It was probably after.
Okay.
But I committed to Washington State, after that sophomore season, going into my junior year, and then I ended up
Got
taking
it.
So
So as you were, I guess in either scenario, whether it was junior year when you were committed to Washington State or senior year when you're committed to Notre Dame, did you feel like you were able to just let it rip and play super loose, or was there actually an added layer of pressure where you're like, now I've got the Notre Dame fans in the Midwest checking in on my Oak Ridge high school games. Like,
I don't even
I got
know.
more eyeballs.
I don't think I ever thought about that. I think I thought of it. That whole recruiting process is definitely chaotic when you're younger. Fortunately, I had my parents help me out a ton. I had a great high school football coach and friends, and I feel like once I committed, it was kind of like I could take a breath
Yeah.
and just be like, I'm going to this team, and I got a senior season that I'm focused on with my guys in high school, and I think the biggest thing is like you just don't want to get hurt. But when you're a kid in high school, like even then, I don't think I thought about it too much. But I think it's more of a sigh of relief. Like I'm committed to this team. I'm gonna finish, and I'm gonna go to this school. It feels good to not have to, call these coaches every single day, and like you say, go through all those letters and going on all the visits. Like it's a lot. It takes up a lot of time. I remember let's see, it would be my sophomore summer was when I started taking all my visits. It's a lot, You don't know what you don't know, too. Like you're a young kid, so I was trying to figure it all out.
So impressionable.
Yeah,
So
my dad was like, I don't know, that coach seemed a little funny, didn't he? Or like he was kind of iffy about you, and I was like, oh, really? I thought he liked me. I couldn't tell. I don't know.
just eating up everything that they're spoon feeding you.
Yeah, so it's good to get a dad that cares. So that was nice.
Yeah. Did you have throughout that recruiting process, whether it was in person, over the phone, like, were there any particularly memorable things that people said or did to kind of try to get you coming their way?
Man. No, not that I can remember off the top of my head. But as you know, just the classic recruiting stuff.
What were some of the things? Go ahead. Sorry.
You'll be our guy, or this or that, or hey, it's between you and this other guy for the offer. I'm really pushing for you. It's like, all right. Like I feel like I heard that a lot for sure. Or like, hey, come down to our camp, and if you do it well, you'll get an offer. That's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a big
Travel,
one. So
spend the weekend.
Yeah, have your parents spend all that money, and then the other guy gets the offer or whatever. So I did that a few times, but I think I visited Cal 4 times. Went to Arizona State. Went to Boise State. Like I said, went to Idaho. Went to UNR. Like did the whole Mountain West. Did the whole Pac-12 thing.
Yeah.
So
cool. So then
it's a fun process. It's just stressful. You're just a young kid, like I said.
Isn't it funny now? Like you're what, 25, 26?
I just turned 25. Yeah.
Yeah. So did I. So it's pretty funny looking like, even being only 25, the difference between being 25 and being 16 or 17 and having to make a decision of that like magnitude.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah. That's why I say like, I feel very fortunate to have parents that were very involved. My dad loved the recruiting thing. Obviously he was proud of me, but like he was involved, and I kind of trusted his decision too. He's the one that felt like this coach, wasn't paying attention to me here and there, and he felt like it was some recruiting scam, and you don't see that when you're younger. I was just happy to go check it out, and I thought I was their guy every time,
Yeah, right.
So it worked out, but I can imagine if you didn't have that, mentorship or whatever, it could be very challenging. You can get tricked. These coaches' job is to get the best quarterback they can find. So if they got to offer a few guys, you might not know where you fit in that rank,
Right. Totally. So come, I guess, would have been summer of 2016, you're at South Bend. Did you do an early enrollment? Do they allow that at Notre Dame?
I did not, but I had a 2-week summer my senior year because we did summer school every year at Notre Dame. So flew out.
You were there.
I think it was June 2nd. Yep. Flew out there. Started the whole thing. I was 5th in line. There was 4 quarterbacks in front of me. So had some work to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, one thing that's become kind of a theme on this podcast and what I love talking to guys about is because I just remember so vividly the shocks that come with training camp in particular, that first training camp. It's just so intense. It's like it's nonstop. You're going 20 straight days, 2-a-day practices, meetings, film. Totally different. Like you could feel like, no, I prepared. I did all this extra stuff in high school. No one is 100% prepared for a training camp.
And
you just can't be.
The difference between like a senior or a 5th-year senior and a freshman. Yeah. So it's big boy football. And it's crazy. It feels so long ago. I'm trying to remember my first camp right now. Like, obviously didn't get many reps, but it was pretty cool actually I do remember. I didn't get any reps now that I think about it. So it was pretty cool though. Like, it's definitely a different game, and it's like, okay, now it's football year-round type of deal.
Yeah. I mean, who were some of the guys walking around that locker room, for example? Because when I showed up, you see these guys you've been watching on TV all of high school. They're a few months from going to the NFL. You're kind of starstruck. You can't kind of pinch yourself that they're your teammate.
Quarterback-wise, I mean, Malik Zaire and Deshaun Kaiser were there. Brandon Wimbush was there.
Yeah.
We had the best O-line ever. Quentin Nelson was there. Mike McGlinchey was there. Alex Bars, Sam Mustaford. Even my class linemen are starting to get reps because they all play in the league as well. So
Yeah.
O-line factory. Durham Smythe, he's on the Dolphins. Cole Kmet came after me. But there's a ton of guys.
Yeah.
10 guys probably right now. They're still playing in the NFL, if not more. So it was like, oh yeah, this is a different game for sure. But like I said, my first camp, I didn't do much at all. Not that I remember. If I would have remembered, I think it would have got more reps if I could have remembered. But there was a quarterback battle going on between Malik Zaire and Deshaun. Whoever won that would get it, and then the other guy would be second. Brandon Wimbush was third. I guess I was fourth. So, there's not much time in camp for reps like that. I used to get the, whatever, the last 5 plays of every day with the young guys or whatever they called it. But, it wasn't much. I redshirted. So I was chilling, that whole season, trying to learn as much as I can and check out the environment. And I'm actually glad I did that. Like, I feel like redshirt, and so when I do gear up, like, whatever.
Yeah, I think redshirting is. Oh, wait, hang on 1 second. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is just saying, as long as I can hear you, it says, I think you might have an internet quality issue. Your video is not on, but.
Oh, no, I can see you and hear you.
Okay, it might come back, no worries. Yeah, I think that that redshirt development year, it seems like everyone who does it, with few exceptions, is happy that they did. Like,
yeah, it's pretty
you get
impressive
so
when
much.
you come in just as a freshman and start playing.
Totally. I mean, the amount of muscle they can put on dudes, and
yeah,
it just takes a year of maturity and a year of maturing. So, okay, this is something that I always wonder program to program, because at Stanford, if you're a freshman, or really if you're any football player walking around campus, a lot of people have no clue that you are, no matter who
That's
you
what
are.
KJ told me.
They have no idea. Like, Christian McCaffrey could walk around campus and pretty much not be bothered at his peak. It's just it's so bizarre. And other campuses, obviously, people are treated like absolute celebrities. Where does Notre Dame fall in on that spectrum?
Yeah, I'd say we're definitely on the other side of the spectrum of what you just said, probably. But I would imagine at other places it's probably even crazier, like the SEC. I'd imagine if you're the starting quarterback at Texas, maybe USC, Alabama, whatever. Those are some big name schools. Notre Dame's up there, but like I say, it's a small private school. So, we have 10,000 undergrad, whatever, 12,000 total walking around. So it's definitely got that small feel. But if they care, like the kids at Notre Dame go to Notre Dame because, they're either Catholic or they like really love football and grew up with it because their parents did or whatever. And like the student body is very, very into football. So they know who is who. And if you're eating at the dining hall or whatever. And, but I didn't have to worry about that my freshman year for sure. I was definitely chilling. But I remember KJ telling you that about Stanford, which is wild. But Notre Dame's definitely opposite, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 close buddies, Andrew Fay and Chandler Swift, who both went to Notre Dame. They were class of 2018 and 2019. And when I told them I was even talking to you, they were so fired up. It's such a different level of commitment. They follow it like, I can't even watch a game with Chandler. He lives in Dallas too. The guy will not sit down. He's so nervous.
That's hilarious.
He's so locked in. But it's great. I mean, that's what a committed fan base looks like.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's part of the reason you go to a school like that, like a fan base that's that student body and a fan base that loves it. Like it brings a good energy to it. It's pretty sweet. We definitely enjoyed it.
Totally. I mean, the Notre Dame fans, they travel really well, don't they? Like they would show up at your away games.
Very well. They're just, it's a very global brand. Like,
right.
If I wear the Notre Dame monogram in the airport, somebody's going to say something, and they might live wherever. We just get, even recruiting, like that's our big like recruiting pitch. We don't get kids from one area, like California, Texas, Hawaii, New York, Florida. We get kids from everywhere. So it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed it.
So as you progress and are, working your way up the depth chart, dudes are graduating, people are moving on. Notre Dame was rolling. I mean, really, you were at the program at a really seriously strong point. Mm-hmm. Did you have one moment? This could be you could take this from once you were named the starter, once you were playing, maybe it happened before that. But was there ever like one particular moment where kind of the gravity of the situation
Yeah,
hit
for
you?
sure,
Was
for
it the
sure.
first time you walked out of the tunnel? Like, what was it?
No, I wouldn't even say it's my first start. Like even my first start, Brandon Wimbush got hurt the week before, and it was like, oh, I have to play this time, that type of deal.
Yeah. Yep.
Was able to do that and win, and everything was great. And then I would say like it got real was the following year. I still was battling with Wimbush after playing, kind of garbage time, starting one game and then playing in the bowl game that year a lot. That
Yep.
following year, it was still unclear of like who's going to play the next year. So Brandon and I are grinding it out. He starts the first three games, and then I kind of got the nod on that fourth game, and it was against Wake Forest. And I think that's kind of when it was like, this is for real here, because um, was fortunate enough to go out there against Wake Forest, and we killed them, man. And they fired their defensive coordinator that night, and I
Oh,
was
really?
the following my second game that year was against Stanford at night. If you guys were ranked, I think 3. I want to say y'all were 3, and y'all came and played us, at night, and that was my second
You guys,
start that
you guys
season.
beat us by like 20 in that
Yeah,
game.
it was close though for a little bit, and then that was when I was like, all right, this is for real, because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you beat Wake Forest, now what? And it's like, well, we're playing the number 3 team in the country next week, so that was kind of when I felt like, it's mine, kind of take it and run with it is the goal.
And once you have that, I mean, I can imagine how that mindset kind of flip of a switch may happen, but also it happens so quickly, right? Like that's the thing with any position like this. You probably once Wimbush was hurt, I'm sure you were like, this is my opportunity. This is my
Yeah,
moment to seize and hopefully not look back on.
right.
And and I guess it wasn't you didn't immediately start
No,
forever
that's what I'm
after that,
saying. Like
right?
I
Yeah.
was telling myself that I started, we won.
Yeah.
He came back, he finished the year. We go to a
Yeah.
bowl game. We split time in the bowl game. I don't know if you remember, like I threw my last pass in that bowl game. I threw like a jump ball to Miles Boykin. He caught it with one hand, and we beat LSU. So I was like, maybe
Yeah.
that was the moment that I'll start
Yeah.
But then again, following year, going through camp, splitting reps 50-50 with Brandon, he starts the first 3 games, and then I finally got to start again. So it wasn't so like, it wasn't one moment where I took it and ran. It kind of took 2 or 3 times. It felt like.
You guys have a good relationship?
Yeah, he's like one of my best friends. Good
He
dude.
is.
Yeah.
It's interesting how the QB room, it just depends on the setup, I guess. But there are some times where it's an iron sharpening iron situation, and everyone's making each other better.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a room full of people who all are vying for one spot. Like, what do you
Yeah.
think is going to happen in a
Yeah.
testosterone fueled
Yeah. Only one
setting
guy
with
gets to play. And it
one guy gets to play?
honestly, yeah, I've seen it. I've heard about it like the other way, but every quarterback room I've been in, like, it's been pretty good. Like the one guy, everyone wants to be playing, you know what I mean? But only one guy can play. And I felt like at Notre Dame, it was like really special. Everybody was kind of supporting each other, and it just kind of speaks to Brandon's personality, He,
Yeah.
he really is one of my best friends. So it worked out.
That's awesome. And I know, and I guess going back for a second to the Notre Dame fan base generally, once you're in that spot, you are the guy who's the one playing, the one QB on the field, like you're saying. Did you feel like, okay, this is a fan base that really has my back and is going to be like the all out support? Or is it like, I hope I don't screw up because as much as this fan base, because they want me to succeed so badly, they will chew me up and spit me
Yeah.
out if I start to falter here.
Probably both. You hear the good and the bad. It's impossible not to. I did my
Yeah.
best of staying off social media and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
um, I think some people were probably like, "What? We don't have anything better than this," And then some people were like, "Well, he's doing well. Let's just see how well he does." Until, I don't think I had like a whatever. I had a short leash because I feel like if I did bad, it was probably like, "All right, that's it." But it worked out, man, and I think it's a little bit of both for sure.
What was your most memorable game as a starter?
Um, like I said, that Stanford game sticks out a lot for me because that was like my big first win, and it kind of, led to some momentum. And then
Yeah.
beating Clemson my 5th year,
Yeah.
double overtime in COVID was pretty wild.
Yeah,
Number one team in the
insane.
country. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. Was there okay? And then how about worst or most hostile away game environment
Uh,
you ever played in?
uh, Probably on a at Georgia was wild. 95,000. They like broke a record that game, night game. They were playing like these red strobe lights for the first time. Apparently, they shut all the lights off one time. It was crazy. Ended up losing by a touchdown. That was crazy.
Season opener? Was that a season opener?
No, it was week 4, I think, or week 3.
Okay. Yeah.
That's probably number one. You know what else was wild was at Miami, my redshirt freshman year.
My
Wild,
buddies
off the hook.
went to that game. They said the whole environment was
Yeah, and we
unreal.
got smashed. It was a tough night, but that game was crazy. I mean, there's a lot of history between Notre Dame and Miami, with everything. So
Convicts versus Catholics.
yeah, that whole place was sold
Yeah.
out. Like I've never seen Hard Rock completely sold out like that. And then there was just all
Yeah.
these famous people there, and it was a tough night, but it was loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those two stick out.
And what about Brian Kelly? What is his style? What is his like interpersonal style with his players? Because this is something that, again, with a kind of unique Stanford example, and having been on the team for
Yeah,
a season and an off season, it was a short stint, but you could ask anyone who's played Stanford football. Coach Shaw, during this past era, he has a very unique way of like he almost deals with the players as the same way that like a CEO would. He has ultimate respect, but he's not obviously not this rah guy.
yeah.
How does Coach
I'd say
Kelly
same.
deal with his players?
I would say similar. Definitely a great CEO type.
Yeah.
But winner at the end of the day. I mean, he just wants to win, and he's done that
Yeah.
everywhere he's went. But I guess probably similar to what you said. The CEO, he hires like the right people as well. He runs things his way. We all have a process on how we do stuff, and he sticks to it. And it's just about winning every single Saturday. So I liked him. He gave me my opportunity, and I enjoyed my time there. And him and I, we had a great relationship. So I think some people probably just see like the stuff on the sideline of him screaming and
Yeah.
yelling, and it is. But it's football, as you know, and I think he was just passionate for the game. And seriously, he just wanted to win. Like every season at Notre Dame, it's talked about. It's like playoff chance or not or nothing. That's what we're shooting for. So especially not being in a conference, it was like we have to win every single game. It's kind of how we felt.
And what about Coach Reese?
That's my guy. So that's he's a great coach, man. He's really taught me everything I know from the jump. When he got there, I think he was 20. He might have been 24.
Was he like a graduate assistant when he showed up?
No, he showed up straight quarterback coach. And then he
Yes, yeah.
did that for a couple of years. Then he went to offensive coordinator. So he taught me everything. I still talk to him probably once every 2 weeks. And just learning from someone who actually was a quarterback at Notre Dame under Coach Kelly was easy to learn from for sure. He taught me everything I know, and definitely one of my best friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
Are
cool.
there a lot
We're
of
like similar in age, like in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, coach to player. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, he came back as a coach, and there's so many legends in Notre Dame football program history, coaches and players. Did those players come back and spend a lot of time at the
A ton.
facility?
That's what Notre Dame's
Do they?
about. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you name it, Notre Dame, great. They've at least come to a game or been on, like they love coming back. So same thing with me and all my buddies that play there. We try to get back at least once a year and check out a game. I went to the Clemson game last year when Notre Dame beat Clemson again. So it's pretty cool at Notre Dame. Jerome Bettis is there all the time. Like I talk to him, he's there all the time. Joe Theismann's there all the time. It's pretty
So
cool.
cool.
Yeah, Brady Quinn's always there. I mean, those guys are hitting 1-2 games a season. It's pretty cool.
So, this might be a tough one because there are a lot of like fantastic college football programs across the country, across conferences that have their own bit of like allure, or there's something that's like, I want to go to X program because of this or this or this reason. With Notre Dame, it seems to just be this like aura, this like
Tradition.
secret sauce, like magic,
Yeah.
just the tradition.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even describe it? How do you put it into words?
That's Yeah, you're right. And it's like sounds cliche and kind of dumb until you get there, and then you just kind of feel it. Like it does have like it's tradition. It's just tradition to the max, and it does feel like that. Um, like for example, they like asked me to watch the movie Rudy before I showed up on campus, and then it's like, okay, I've seen that movie, I'll watch it again, and then you show up, like everything you see in that movie, they're still doing that. Like the tradition, carries on. So that was pretty cool. And then I think it's just like winning, like it's a winning program. Um, but and I think a lot of it is like they have a lot of pride in being the number one Catholic university in the world, and then they
Yep.
have um, a lot of pride in their tradition. Like we do the same stuff every week in and week out that you see in that movie. Um, the gold helmets, all that, and then just those guys coming back. Like it's when you're there and you're part of Notre Dame, and then you leave, like you stay in that bubble, and everyone's trying to help everybody out, and the connections are real, and Notre Dame people trying to help out other Notre Dame people. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. And so you alluded to this when I was asking you about if the fans support you or if you're kind of always halfway between love and hate. And you said that you mentioned that you try to stay off social media.
Well,
As you guys
yeah,
were,
I do. You're right.
or you tried, as maybe while you're the starter and the team's winning all these games and you're obviously getting more and more media coverage by the week. How do you actually do that? Like guys are always like, no, I stay off social media. It's like, do you delete your Instagram? Do you delete your Twitter? Do you not turn on the TV? Like you could be so inundated with everyone's take on you, your
Mm,
team, your coach, like your entire world for that fall
yeah.
is a nonstop buzz and is always being talked about. How do you actually separate? Or if you can't separate, how do you mentally detach and just focus in on what has to get done
Yeah.
within the
I
team?
think it got so big that I was just like, I'm just here to have fun. That's why I kept telling myself, like, I play football because it's fun,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to keep playing this game because I'm having fun. And if I'm not having fun, I wouldn't play. So I think I did such a good job at like blocking that noise because one, I didn't go on for example, Twitter. I didn't go on Twitter during the season. I still had it. I didn't delete it. I just
Yeah.
had discipline, I guess, and I didn't go on
Yeah.
it because I didn't need to see that. Like as long as I knew what the guys in the locker room thought and liked, and my coaches believe me, my teammates believe me, then it is what it is. It's the coach is going to pick the best player out there that they think gives them the best chance to win,
Yeah.
and if they're picking me, like for a reason, I'm confident in that, and I want to go out there and do the best I can. And I think for another example, I had some help, like in terms of like running my Instagram account or whatever. Like it was pretty cool at Notre Dame. We had a social media person, and she was willing to have my login and help me out and go on there. And after games that maybe didn't end up well, she'd delete everything for me, so I don't have to see that stuff. Like I felt like I did, 4 years there where like I didn't see much hate, which was cool.
That's great.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't need to see it. Like I know that no matter what, we went a season where we didn't lose a game. You're still gonna have haters.
Yep.
We
That's
didn't
right.
lose one game, and it was like, or whatever. Like I don't know. I think in my career we've never lost a game at home. Let's just say that. Not one time did we lose
Wow.
at home. It's like, how are y'all hating? If you think about if you're a student, right? Every single home game you went to, if you're in my class, we never lost. Like
That's incredible.
you had a good time. So even out of that group, there's going to be people that are hating. We could be even better if someone else was under there, whatever. Like I didn't see it because I didn't see the hate in person, which was cool. I had my guys with me, and then in terms of like social media, I just didn't log in and go on it because I didn't need to. Because the people back then on Twitter, and even now, it's even worse. I can't imagine. But the guys who are writing stories, it's like, dude never doesn't even know how to throw a spiral. Like, why would you listen to him? He's not even in the locker room.
Right.
So early on, I think I learned that like I ain't doing that. I'm just not. It's gonna ruin it for me. It'll ruin the game for me. So if you want to hate, you can hate from the sideline, I guess, or from the
Yeah.
stands, or from your couch.
Yeah. Either way, you're watching you.
Yeah.
You're the one tuning in. So,
It was cool, man.
so
And I was so busy. Like I wasn't searching my name. I'm not scrolling.
yeah.
I'm just trying to stack games and win.
Yeah.
Figure everything
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I feel like that's the only way.
Yep.
What does what does South Bend look like after a win?
Pretty fun, man. I don't know if have you ever been to South Bend?
I've never been. So I visited a lot of campuses in college, and I
Yeah.
never made it to South Bend, regrettably.
So, I mean, it's if Notre Dame wasn't there, it might be rough, but
Yeah.
everything there is about Notre Dame, and everybody there is a Notre Dame fan. They're bought in. It's a small community. You get that small college town feel. Um, but it was crazy, man. That's all people did on Saturdays was go to those games. People travel from everywhere to go see a Notre Dame game, and it was really really fun. Like we don't have fraternities or Greek life or whatever, so it was all about like hanging with your team and going back to whoever's house and just having a good time with the guys. Like those days never get old, man. Those were the best. So we have like 8 bars. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can go to those if you want, if you're of age, and then just go back to the house party, hang out. Everyone's there to see a Notre Dame game. They might have even made a weekend trip from it, but sold out crowd every single time I've been to, every single time we've had a game, which is awesome. Which is, I think right now, I think it's like 85,000 people. Pretty crazy.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Did you get nervous before games? I was talking to Conrad Ucropina on the last episode, and he was just cracking me up, telling me about his puking ritual before games. Did you have anything that?
No, I get nervous, and I think the nerves are good. I've always gotten nervous for anything, but like
Yeah.
at Notre Dame, I never felt so prepared ever. Like I get nervous and literally need one play, and it'd be like, cool. The crowd's not even here anymore, whatever. Like it's the whole build up to everything that like
Right.
it's impossible not to get. I don't think there's anyone that's like.
I
I don't
agree.
think they might say they are. They don't get nervous, but like that build up, like come on, it's good. It's like built up energy. It's like a little bit of little anxious, a little nervous, but like more excited than anything. And you just want it to start so you can get in it. So I was just the guy that needed to like, I just needed to play. So
When I think Notre Dame, I always picture like you guys walking through
yeah,
campus like
dude,
that. I
just
can't.
everything you can imagine to like get your nerves going even more.
How could you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
we did
mean,
that. We did mass on Friday. We did like we would do, the walk. We would have our pregame meet. Like it takes a while to get to the field, to get in your gear and like freaking kick the ball off. You know what I mean? So that's really
yeah.
why football gets you those nerves. But yes, I did get nervous before every game, but to me it was always a good way. If I wasn't nervous, I would have thought something was kind of off.
Yeah. Maybe you're not locked in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mind's
So
wandering.
it's good, man. I literally just needed that first play, and it's like, let's do it. It's good. It's
That
fun.
was that's. I mean, that seemed to be the case for every scale for me, whether it was a third grade football game or a college game or
Yeah.
all of high school.
Or
That first play
lacrosse,
is
like
so key.
off-season lacrosse game. Like I had good nerves. I was ready. Like that stuff was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I've never just been like real. I am very like even keel. I think that's what a lot of people tell me.
Yeah.
But I still know how I feel like deep down inside. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I've never had any type of competitive anything where I'm just like, all right, let's do it. Like super
Yeah.
lame. Never.
Yeah.
Never. So it was
Yeah.
good. It's fun, man.
Who are some of the? I mean, I can only imagine. You got guys like, I guess was Jalen Smith gone when you were there? Did he
So he
leave
left.
you?
Will
Okay.
Fuller left right before I got there.
Okay.
But the guys in the NFL that you would know that I've played with, like I said, Cole Kmet, Chase Claypool, Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey, Alex Bars, Sam Mustipher, Equinemius St. Brown, you name it, man. Brock Wright, Ben Skoranek. I mean, these guys are still in,
That's
in
a
the
long
league.
list, dude.
And I haven't even
It's a long
I didn't
list.
even say anybody on defense. I'm just naming the guys I played with on offense. Yeah, like it's, Robert Hainsey,
It's incredible.
Tommy Kramer. It's like they've all, Kyron Williams. I mean, all these guys have gotten drafted. They played. They're playing now. I got lucky, man. I had a nice offensive line and some really good talent around me.
That is an unbelievable list, actually. I honestly did not realize the extent of it.
Dude, I mean, we had great receivers too, but like our O-line, tight end, like in the box, that was huge. We were able to run the ball and open up the pass every time. It was awesome. It was really special. And then just to have a defense that was like creating turnovers and getting the ball back, like that's the difference in a college football game for sure.
How would you describe your last game at Notre Dame? More so from just almost an emotional side of like realizing.
It was cool. It was a COVID game, so we only let in so many fans. We played Syracuse, my last home
Yeah.
game. we won. We had a nice little run there at the end where we scored like 21 points in like 2 minutes before the half ended. And then I just remember, I just vividly remember like when the announcer, said that I was subbing out or whatever, and the whole stands that was there stood up and clapped and gave Coach Kelly a hug and all those guys a hug. And I was like, damn, that's it. That's it. It was crazy, but it was just a memorable year. Just the fact that like everything going on in the world that we were able to still play some football was pretty cool. Because I decided to come back my 5th year. I was like, I'm coming back. I'm not ready for the NFL yet. I need to get better. And then I was like, I came home and I was like, no way that this thing just hit. Like, we're not going to have a season after I just told the NFL I'm not doing it,
Yeah.
And then it worked out. So we joined a conference. We did all that. So things just kind of work out the way they do, and it was perfect.
Okay, just to go back to that time period for a second. Did anyone know? Was anyone directing traffic, or was everyone just like,
COVID?
We have no idea what. Yeah, as COVID was hitting.
Crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, tell me about that.
It was so crazy. It was like, hey, great. I think we just finished spring ball. It's like, spring ball's over. Go home, whatever. You get your little break. We'll see you guys, whatever. We go home, and people. Sadly, you remember how people were kind of joking about it at first? Like, don't go to Vegas. Like,
oh yeah.
Totally. Like, whatever. Like, some of the guys were literally going to Vegas for spring break. It's like I went home, and then like stuff started getting serious, and then offensive coordinators calling me, quarterback coaches calling me, like, dude, this is getting serious. Then they sent out, Teamworks. Did y'all have the Teamworks app?
Yeah.
I hit you up on Teamworks.
Team
like,
management.
Hey, we're having a team Zoom, whatever. Everybody needs to be there, mandatory. We log in. Coach Kelly's telling everyone, like, hey, as of right now, nobody's going to be coming back. Work out, but keep yourself safe and healthy, and we'll keep reaching out to you guys when we know more. And it was like talks about joining the Big Ten, no season.
Yeah.
Are we going to join the Pac-12? I was like, this is crazy. So I don't even remember how long I stayed home, but it was a long time. It was just doing my own workout. We had our own workouts that we could submit on like this app. It was crazy, man. Doing like, I remember actually I was in Omaha for a little bit doing like some training with one of these quarterback guys that I was working with. And I was like, I might be stuck in Omaha for a second because I didn't know if I was going to be able to fly from Omaha back home. And then I ended up getting home, and then whatever, I was out there for however many months we were. And then they was like, hey, come back. We're going to do a season, a 10-game season in the ACC. So it ended up working out, but it was crazy. It was weekly checking in, that's for sure.
What did you do? I mean, or what did all the guys do? Like, did you just find a gym that would let you in? Did you have a rack at home? Like, what'd you do?
Everything was close. I just worked out at home. Luckily, I had a few things at home that I could do, but I had, a high school field that nobody was at, obviously, so I could go there and throw to my brother or whoever else it was, but just worked out like crazy. We had these workout videos that they were sending us to do and all the descriptions on how to do everything and write down your sets. It was like crazy. So we're just doing all that, and we were going over plays on Zoom all the time. We were installing, a couple times a week.
Yeah.
So it was wild now that I look back at it. I don't even remember how long I was home, but it felt like a long time. It was definitely a couple months, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can't believe that you also, the added element of like, I just said no to the NFL. You got to be kidding me. Like,
yeah, because then I was thinking like, okay, if this doesn't work, which state can I go to train all year for an NFL? Right. I was like, can I go to Texas? They seem a lot less, strict about the rules or whatever, than California was. Yep. I was thinking about, do I go there and train for a whole year and just train? And I don't know. It was crazy. So there's just a lot going on. It was just staying by your phone, staying updated with everything every day. I mean, the news was going crazy, and especially all the college football commentating on what's going to happen.
So much speculation, so much blind speculation during that period. People just pulling takes out of thin air.
Yep. But it worked out, man. Everything works out for a reason.
That's true. That definitely worked out for you guys. So, all right. So then, fast forward after this fantastic 2020 COVID season for you guys. Was it straight to the combine?
So yeah, let's see.
It wouldn't have been straight to if it's in April, but was the plan like, all right, I got to get ready for the combine? It's happening.
I went to the Senior Bowl. So like I went down to Mobile, did the Senior Bowl. Flew from Mobile.
What's the Senior Bowl like? I feel like it doesn't get much coverage, but I know
Yeah,
it's very important.
it's very important. It can really help you or it can really hurt you. So I felt
Yeah.
like for me, I, I mean, I was just confident. I felt like I was going to go there and probably be under the radar. Luckily to get an invite type of deal, and I was like,
Yeah.
this could be good. So it ended up. I think it helped me. My interviews I felt like went well. I won Practice Player of the Week for my squad. Uh, and then the games, people leave before the game starts. Apparently, like that week of practice is very very important, and then a lot of people
Yeah.
leave. But I was able to play. I think I got like a little bit of the third, and then I got the fourth quarter. So that went well. I think it helped me. So it's a hard week though, dude. Like we get there and you learn your NFL offense all day, and then it ends at like 10, and then you like start these NFL meetings with these guys, and you go table to table, and you don't go to bed till midnight, and then you got practice early. Like it was tiring. It was like 4 to 5 days of very very tiring interviews, football, and playing. And I think that's kind of the point to like see who can make it out of that. So it worked out well, but it was, big time interviews with GMs, coaches, or scouts. You met with every single team no matter what. They can call you back to interview you again if they want to. They're all at practice. Like everything is being watched that week. So I went
Some
straight
high
sure.
stakes speed dating, basically.
That's what it felt like. And then went from there to Dallas to train at MJP, Michael Johnson Performance. Really wanted to work on my 40 time because I felt like that might be something that could help me out. I wanted to work on like getting out of a stance. Haven't had to put my hand down in the dirt in a while. So I was like, I'm going to run a good 40 and have a good pro day throwing. That should help me hopefully in the draft. So did that for 6 weeks training, and then flew from there to Notre Dame for my pro day. Did the pro day, flew home, waited for the draft, and then after the draft, flew to New Orleans. So your last year in college football and your first season in the NFL is a combined 2 years. Your first
No
off
break.
season after your rookie year is like the first time that you really have 3 months off, like with nothing going on. So it's 2 years of football every day. It's pretty crazy.
What were some of the more interesting questions that you received during the interviews?
Senior Bowl. I didn't get anything crazy, which you always hear about, but I heard, some of my buddies I was with got some wild ones, but it's all a mind game. They already know what they're asking you for the most part.
Yeah.
Just be truthful, be confident. That same thing you hear all the time in terms of interviews, but I didn't get anything wild, which I'm glad because maybe that means I had a clean pass.
Clean record.
Clean record.
What were some of the ones your buddies got?
I mean, they'll just like, scouts are funny. They just kind of, I think they're there. Some are there to like be cool. Some are there to kind of intimidate you. I remember a lot of the guys, they would just be like, yeah, so you like to drink and smoke a lot? And then you're like, what? And you're like, no. They're like, really? You don't drink at all with your guys after the games in college? And they're like, well, I have a beer. So like 1 beer, like stuff like that. They're just like, they want to make sure you're not like a liar or whatever. And,
Right.
There's probably way more deep stuff than that, but if you had something in the past, they might be like, you ever got in trouble or whatever? And if you say no, and they're like, how about this? That's not a good sign. So
Right.
they just want to get to know you. They get 15 minutes before you got to go to your next speed dating thing. So it's like, you got to, they're going to grill you, or they might be like, hey, I don't even care about who you are right now. I'll learn about that later. Get up on the whiteboard and draw your favorite play and why, yada. So that's why I had that more probably because I'm a quarterback, but it's fun. You just got to be on your toes. I was tired, after a week. I was definitely ready to, get drafted hopefully, and then be able to, take a little bit of a break that following off season.
So then what was your draft experience like? Were you at home in Sacramento?
I was at home hanging out, just had my family there. I had a party that night anyways because it made perfect sense. Like I knew I wasn't going day one or whatever. So like on Saturday, the day I got drafted, they were finishing all rounds. So I was like, I'm either getting drafted or hopefully get taken as an undrafted free agent. So either way, we should celebrate. So I had people coming over to, the house for a party, everybody else, because I figured by the time they got here, I would at least know what team I'm going to. So the stress in terms of that way was gone. But the day of the draft is stressful, dude. You're just sitting there like, man, I hope this next call is me. And then you're like, next one, or next one. And it's just a lot. You just sitting there literally hanging out waiting for a call. But it
Yeah.
worked out for me. I got a call at a great time, kind of when I thought I would go type of deal. And the number that called me was from Texas. I still don't know. That's funny. I never really asked in New Orleans like whose cell phone it actually was. But I was like, oh, the Cowboys are calling. And then they're like,
Yeah.
hey, this is the Saints. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Worked out great.
It was a Texas. It wasn't a 504 area code.
No, it was something Texas. I remember that for sure. I was like, hey, like Cowboys are calling. And I was like, it's the Saints. It worked out, dude. You call, you watch it up there, you're screaming, you just get to take a breath. And I just got to go, to the house and have everybody be there, which is pretty sweet.
That's so awesome. I mean, it is such a wild thing. I was talking to my fiance. She was like, she's not a big football fan, and she was like, so on draft day, like, the players really have no control over where they're gonna go and like move, and they have to move there. And I'm like, yeah, no control whatsoever.
Yep.
And it's pretty crazy. No other profession is, outside of professional sports.
I mean,
has
people
you
get
doing
drafted
that.
by teams that they said they never talked to one time.
Really?
They'll be like, hey, I'm going to this team or this team, dude. I had 3 interviews, and they said they're going to take me. And then you get a call from a team that that never interviewed you. It's just the way it works. But, man, it's a day that, like, I used to watch the draft growing up just because it was fun. And then
That had to be
a
surreal.
part of it. It's definitely like a childhood dream, so that was like a really special day. But to say it wasn't stressful, it was definitely to watch other quarterbacks go, and you're like, all right, I got to be next. So it's a stressful day, but the call was very memorable.
Speaking of watching guys go and feeling like you got to be next, did you get any words of wisdom from Brady Quinn beforehand?
I don't know. He'd done a good job like reaching out to me a lot when I was at Notre Dame, and he's always there, and I've talked to him a ton. But he definitely texted me congrats too. But I don't think I got anything like before, but once I got drafted, he definitely sent me a text, so that was pretty nice of him.
That's awesome. And then I got to ask, because my mom's side of the family is all from New Orleans. My grandfather was among the first group to ever become a season ticket holder for the Saints. They're as in it as you can be in terms of their Saints fandom. How long did you have before you had to go to New Orleans? And then what was your first kind of reaction to New Orleans and New Orleans fans?
I want to say when I got drafted, like I went out to New Orleans, I think it was like 2 weeks later. I think it was, or maybe even a week. It might have been a week or two. But it was like, hey, time to come out here and then, start the off-season workouts and then the rookie mini camp that you have to do. And so it's definitely soon. And I think I'm positive, like when you're a first rounder, you fly out, sometimes that night or the next morning, you go check it out.
Yeah.
And then what was the second question?
Just impression of New Orleans and crazy Saints
great,
fans.
Man. I mean, it's been cool. Like, I'm from the West Coast. I went to college in the Midwest. I got drafted and played a year in New Orleans in the South, and then now I'm in the East Coast with the Eagles. Like, it's cool, man. Football's taking me to some really cool places. I'm living in the heart of the city in places I would have never probably ever went to. But just to get down to New Orleans and be embracing that culture too, like it's awesome. They love their team. It's a great organization. Got to learn a ton my rookie year, and then obviously I had to play in that one game, but was a backup for 2 games. Was inactive for the other games, but was running the scout team, like learning a lot.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it there. Met a lot of my lifelong friends, and that organization, I mean, as you know, they know how to win and they do the right stuff. So I've been to 2 places now where it's been, I feel like the organization is doing everything they can to help win, which is cool.
One thing, and we'll wrap up here in just a couple minutes. One thing that's I've wondered about is you go to a job as a new grad out of college, and sometimes you'll be with like an analyst class, or you'll be, you have your onboarding or your first 2 weeks of training. How does that work when you're 2 weeks after the draft, welcomed to, found my apartment, I found my place, I guess. The team put me up somewhere.
It's big.
How does it go?
You put on your grown-up shoes. You get out there. I think you stay. So you can look for a place, but like you want to make the team first. So it's always a little bit weird,
Right.
Like if you're round 1, 2, 3, like probably good. Even 4, like your first rookie, you're probably good. So you might want to start looking at places, but like I stayed in a hotel, team hotel that they put you up in. You do rookie mini camp, you do OTAs, and then you go home for the summer. Then you come back for camp, and a lot of coaches have a rule where you have to be in a hotel anyway. So I kept staying in the hotel with the guys during camp. Made the team, and then it was like I found my place, got in an apartment, moved all my stuff in there, then started the season. But in terms of like onboarding, I think it's not like what you're saying. It's like here's the playbook that everybody else has, here's the weight room that everybody else has.
Yep.
The only thing different is you're the youngest guy on the team, and you have to do rookie minicamp. Other than that, you're going to do everything else that everybody else is doing. And a lot of the rookies play year one, so that's the weirdest thing about the NFL. You might be playing with guys who are 35 or whatever.
That's what I was just going to say. When you show up as a freshman to freshman camp, it's similar. They're like, this is the playbook. This is how we lift. This is how we run. Get with the program. And you're like, oh, my God, this guy who's 22 seems so old. Yeah. But then you can be 22 in the NFL, and guys are like 35 and older these days. I mean,
it's crazy, too. And the amount of guys coming in and out of the team, it's cutthroat, man. There's a guy on a team for a day. There's a guy that they might sign, and then he's not there that day or whatever. Like it didn't work out or whatever. Or a guy comes for 1 week. The team that starts like after camp or whatever, that group of 53 from the 53 at the end of the season looks a lot different. It's crazy. It's the name of the game. These organizations are trying to win. These owners are trying to win, and then it's let the best man play type of deal. So it's very cutthroat. I think it just makes you grow up fast. That's all. It's just like, all right, this is a business, and it's a lot bigger than yourself. There's a lot that goes into all this stuff.
Totally. And how would you describe? I've always wondered when you got your rookies who are basically kids. They were just on college campuses. Some of them maybe even declared early and are 20, 21 years old. And then you've got your veterans who have 3 children and just completely different phases of life. Yeah. How does that gelling really work? And this is probably a good transition actually into asking you about Philadelphia, where like they've got Jalen Hurts, just took him to a Super Bowl, just got this big contract. He's like 24 years old. Yeah. Like how does that dynamic work where you have to be a leader of men, many of whom can be 15 plus years older than you are? 10 to 15.
It's different. Sometimes it's everything. It's probably personality. It's probably like the product you're putting on the field. It's probably a mix of everything. But a lot of times your play kind of speaks for itself, I would say. Jalen's 24. He doesn't act 24. But he's our best player. He's balling out there. He's got everybody's attention type of deal. So I don't think it matters at that point. But there's good vets too. You go in the locker room, you meet someone who's older, who's been there his whole career. Cam Jordan's been on the Saints his whole entire career. He's done a good job of not treating anybody different or whatever. So that's always cool. But it's definitely different, man. It's hard to explain. There's, like I said, all different ages, different teams, guys every week. But I think it's just kind of like knowing your role at first and then being confident in yourself, getting on the field, playing, earning everybody's respect. It's kind of like a little bit of everything. So it's weird constantly when you think about it, but then you think, okay, Jalen's 24 and, blah, 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 it's 30, whatever. You don't even think about it at that point. You kind of feel like you're both older and you're both out there playing, doing the same thing, trying to win.
Got it. Yeah. And then ending up on the Eagles this past season, pretty cool spot to land, obviously. Ended up in the Super Bowl. What is the Super Bowl week? What is the Super Bowl experience like? Is it just like everything that it seems to be in terms of all the hype and the hundreds of thousands of people flocking to that city? And I can't really imagine the level of...
It's crazy. It was so fun. Such a great year. Crazy, obviously. I get claimed by the Eagles. I got cut by the Saints at 11 a.m. on cut day. I got claimed at 11:05. I was in Philly at 5 p.m. same day.
No way.
So it's crazy how that works. But
join
a team. I go to the first practice on Saturday. I'm there, and I'm like, this team looks pretty good. I didn't know. They look good. Good O-line. Jalen's looking good. A.J. Brown, Devontae, those guys are killing it. And then we just start winning, and we just didn't lose for a long time. And I was like, wow, we really have a shot at this. And then Super Bowl week's awesome. You go out. We were there 7 days early. I think we were in South Phoenix, kind of tucked away by ourselves. There's a ton of distractions all week. There's just parties every week. There's media every day. Everybody's there for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But practiced at the Cardinals facility, stayed at a cool hotel, had a lot of time, dinners, whatever. I stayed with anticipation at Notre Dame in those games. Like the Super Bowl was crazy. Just 7 days of just like waiting for the game to come. Just the build up is insane.
Yeah.
There's like mandatory media you had to do 3 times. I can imagine Jalen was probably just like, man, can we please just play? This is crazy. But awesome experience, man. Just got to go to the whole stage, everything there, all the fans. I mean, it's 2 organizations with really, really loyal fan bases, so it was an unbelievable environment. But then once the game kicks off, there was times during the game I didn't even think like, oh, this is the Super Bowl. You just think, oh, it's another game. Like, kind of back to your roots type of deal. But even at halftime, like it's halftime, I didn't forgot Rihanna was out there screaming and whatever. I'm like, you forget. But awesome game. Obviously came up short. Felt like whoever got that ball in that last possession could win that game. And the goal is to get back and win one and get a ring. But definitely an opportunity that, not many people get the opportunity to have. So felt pretty blessed to be on that team. It was awesome. Great journey, good team, and like every team, like we'll never have that same team again, so special memories.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks so much. I'm so glad we could talk about all this.
Yeah.
And best of luck with OTAs coming up.
Thank you, man.
We'll be keeping an eye and be rooting for you.
Appreciate it, dude.